Paul Nashwadi coming to you live from the show floor at KubeCon Amsterdam 2026. Coming to you live from VMware's by Broadcom's booth. We're here with Timmy and Himanshu. How you doing?
Doing very well.
Very good. We're here to talk about cloud native infrastructure and platform engineering and AI ready options.
Awesome.
Yeah. So first off, let's talk what's going on with VCF.
What is going on with VCF? There is so much going on with VCF. I mean, first of all, like being at KubeCon is like the most exciting conference in the globe right now, and so especially KubeCon Europe being the biggest one of those, we're super happy about that. There's lots of kind of news we have to share, lots of updates in technology that we're bringing to the specifically to the platform engineer audience here at the event. So excited to talk about that. We've really been kind of up the ante in terms of our presence at KubeCon lately. And so talking about VKS, which is, again, it's part of our VMware Cloud Foundation platform, the vSphere Kubernetes service, which is the Kubernetes runtime that's part of it. And so all the key benefits that VKS provides as a Kubernetes platform. We're excited to share with folks, all the demos, etc. we have, as you can see in the backdrop around that, all the services we provide, AI services and all that. So really excited to be here.
Well, there's certainly not a lack of traffic. I mean, the booth has been packed. Absolutely. I mean, Timmy and I were talking about this earlier, just like how much traffic was coming through. It's really exciting times. So you also have AI workloads and infrastructure ready. That's kind of another piece, Timmy. When we're looking at that, we're seeing that 25% of the 2025 research that we had, 25% of the budget for IT was spent on AI workloads, but not sure really where that money was going. They were trying to use it and figure out what was happening with it. What are your thoughts there?
Yeah, I think when we're thinking about the AI workloads that are, coming to these enterprises, the first thing we think about is like, how do we enable that workload? And then the second thing is, how do we put the guardrails around that workload?
Right.
And so with VMware Cloud Foundation, we have a set of capabilities built in the box in our private AI services that can provide you, those guardrails for your organization to run these services at scale. Now, that's a set of services that are very specific about the capabilities that they deliver. But as you know, this AI space is just like dramatically, rapidly changing, right? And so when we think about what we need to deliver as a part of a stack to allow enterprises to deliver their solutions, what we really need is those core components and allowing those core components to be stitched together in a way that's secure and aligns with their governance, compliance, and security restrictions. And so with VCF, we have all of those capabilities to share GPUs with virtual machines, as well as with Kubernetes clusters, so that you can run your AI workloads securely, so that you can govern those agentic workflows that need to run in your stack, and so that you can deliver, any of the new sorts of scheduling and orchestration capabilities on top of our VKS service, leveraging that VCF substrate as the layer that provides the isolation for those GPU capabilities.
So we're in Europe. It's appropriate to talk about the EU CRA that's coming out. That's another area where governance, compliance, regulation really comes into effect. We're seeing that applications really need to comply to this, otherwise there's significant penalties. There's also data sovereignty issues, right?
Yeah.
And data sovereignty is obviously a big topic. At the show floor, I'm seeing it a lot. What are your thoughts around that?
So specifically, with VCF, we've brought in all the work VMware has done over the past few decades in terms of reliability, security, compliance that an enterprise platform really needs, and that truly flows into every capability that we continue to add into the Cloud Foundation platform, right? So whether you're talking about Kubernetes as a control plane with VKS specifically, with all the the governance and control and policies that you need to make sure, the compliance related capabilities that you need to have as a platform. And specifically when it comes to AI and the private AI services we have again built into VCF, we fundamentally started maybe about three and a half years ago with the point of view that it's critical when it comes to AI for enterprises to really focus on privacy, security of their data, their IP, making sure that compliance is not an afterthought, it's built into the platform from the ground up. So it doesn't matter what workload you're building on VCF, they get all the benefits and all the security and all the isolation like Tim was talking about, that emanates from the platform, right? If you're running containers that are kind of built into the VMs, being deployed in VMs, you're getting all that like 6 layers of isolation that the VMs enjoy that containers otherwise will not enjoy if you're trying to do, let's say, on a bare metal platform, for example.
Yeah.
So that's something that we're really excited about, to make sure that where bringing in all the compliance related capabilities on the platform that customers are able to inherently benefit from, whether it is the CRA regulation or anything else.
Anything else? Yeah. Well, I like that because it's a compliance first approach. I like that approach. And the other thing is when we think about platform engineering and self-service, we're seeing that code is looking to be released very rapidly. In fact, what we see in our 2025 research, 24% of organizations want to ship code on an hourly basis, yet only 8% are able to do so. And that part of that has to do with they have to run through all these regulations and compliance and checks and things first. So if they have a more streamlined approach in the across the SDLC, that helps them along those lines. What are your thoughts about platform engineering and self-service?
Yeah, so our VCF self-service is at the core of VMware Cloud Foundation. Whether it's getting a load balancer, a network, a virtual machine, a pod to run a workload in, all of these things can be just provided via Kubernetes-centric API, right? The declarative API. And so that's something that not everyone knows about our stack. They think that we're virtual machines. I think the other part of this is declarative Kubernetes clusters at the touch of a button. And what I mean by that is, we have the ability to instantiate a fully ready to go copy of your environments if you need to help perhaps augment that
Sandbox,
SDLC.
test it, yeah.
It's a sandbox. And so what do we find? We find that, development teams will have dev, stage, and prod.
Yep.
And dev goes fine, stage goes fine. When you go to production, it's like, wait, what happened? Something broke. And just getting a copy of your production environment, getting the ability to instantiate like a just-in-time environment that fully mirrors the capabilities that you have in production, including all the custom resources as a part of that Kubernetes infrastructure, right, is something that we can deliver out of the box at a touch of a button to help you augment your SDLC, right? And I think that this is something that we've had in the stack that people just are unaware of. And look, we're standing like with the community here. We're doing this in the community effort. All these things are driven by upstream cluster API in our stack.
Yep.
We're an active contributor to that part of the community, and we're just leveraging those capabilities as a part of this. But we're putting our VMware sauce and the ability to spin up these instances very rapidly as a part of that machinery.
Well, that's very interesting because when I like the rapid acceleration of pushing the code out. I like the ability of ease of use, self-service, and that actually ties into one of my final questions here. When we look at the audience, what we find is 67% of organizations are hiring generalists over specialists because they don't want to hire specialists, they just can't find them. I mean, they're already just consumed somewhere else. But 67% of organizations, and this is a study of over 800 respondents. So when we look at that, they're really looking for vendors like yourselves to reduce the complexity and reduce the friction. And having that self-service model where you can have a generalist do it really helps apply for that. So what would you say to that with regards to a generalist doing this?
Yeah, I mean, if you look at a generalist role where a person might be wearing multiple hats, doing different roles. If you're wearing the kind of the admin hat where you're trying to basically manage the underlying infrastructure, as VKS, as the VCF platform, we're making sure that you have one way of doing things, right? Whether it is you're deploying virtual machines or containers, it's the same consistent operational set, right? So there's no relearning of it. Whatever skill sets you've built up over time, you're able to very easily re-leverage it and grow on it. And you go from let's say a VI admin to a Kubernetes admin kind of a role, and you span kind of worlds. If you're wearing like a platform engineer hat at some point in time, hey, with VKS, we're giving you a CNCF certified Kubernetes runtime that's going to run all your applications, right? So you're not going to have to worry about that. Anything that's CNCF conformant, the platform is easily extensible to that. On top of it, with every Kubernetes release, we're giving you 24 months of support just included. Right? There's no complication, there's no nothing. We typically support N-2 versions or more. So that also gives you flexibility in terms of like upgrading your applications, being available. And we're not trying to build an ecosystem around us. We're trying to make sure that VKS and the VCF platform is an easy part of your ecosystem, the tools that you use already. So there's inbuilt integrations with the common tools that you already use as a platform engineer, whether it is like, Argo CD, Helm charts or whatever. And if you kind of, you talked about kind of, the skills issue, etc. If you look at it from an organization overall, or as a CXO level, for example, or somebody who has P&L responsibilities, you want to be able to make sure that the people you have are able to leverage their existing skill sets and grow on them, because hey, it's difficult to find that skill set outside. So we make that very easy, on the platform. So you can, you get all the benefits of the platform from a TCO perspective and all that as well. You have that benefit when it comes to your own organization's productivity, and you get all the enterprise grade security compliance like we talked about earlier. So net, it's a win-win-win, no matter like what specific kind of focus you have on.
No, I love where you were going with all that. That was fantastic because it really helps with that acceleration. So I'm going to give you the final word here for the audience, and Timmy, I'll come to you next. But final word from your perspective: what's real versus hype?
Hey, what's real is we're here. We have been a top 3 contributor to the Kubernetes community for a long time. We haven't talked about it as much, but and one of the things I do want to call out that we're really excited about is that Velero, as a project, we've actually contributed that to the CNCF sandbox now. It's been accepted, and if you're kind of like on the board behind, it's one of the projects, one of the many projects that we've originated. So we're really excited to bring Velero to CNCF stewardship now, and it's right here, and we're excited about like how the community is going to continue adding more and more capabilities to it along with us. Like, we're not going anywhere. We're absolutely continue to focus on that. And so the other thing, the other parting comment I would make is when it comes to Kubernetes, we really want to focus on security, on reliability, on lifecycle management. And so we're going to continue to focus on projects like etcd and Cluster API and Harbor and Velero, for example, to make sure that we're advancing with the community together.
Very good, very good. Timmy, final word.
Yeah, so when you say what's real, what's hype, I would say when you talk about AI, it's the most hyped up space. But the reality of the AI space right now is that, yeah, people are trying to deploy it. People are trying to make wins in their organizations from that today. So what do those organizations need? They need a platform that helps them provide governance and capabilities that they need to effectively secure those workloads and their most critical IP and data. And at its core, that's a platform that allows the most secure sharing of those of both your data as well as the GPUs that are going to actually execute those workloads. And we have that in VCF. I see a lot of people trying to implement those exact same sorts of things. Just know that that's part of the platform built into VCF.
Well, thank you both, and you heard it here first. VMware by Broadcom's here to stay. Coming to you live from the show floor, Paul Nashwood, KubeCon Amsterdam 2026.